just in the particular place I am now, it's a really hard question to ask because I'm trying to train myself to not care what anybody thinks about new music, because I've gone down that road where I base my life on what other people think of me, and everything goes wrong when you do that. If you only act and behave in the world because you're trying to seek other people's approval, you might as well just give up and call it quits, because there's so many opinions, and there's even, what really drove me crazy when I tried to do things that would be accepted by other people is even the same person would frequently change their mind. Like, they'd tell me to write music in a specific way, or they'd tell me to do something, and I'd listen to them because I was young and perhaps they were a mentor or someone older than me, and I'm trying to respect older people. They'd tell me what to do, and I'd do it, and then they would act surprised. Like, why did you do that? And I'm like, you told me to, right? So can new music be popular? Who cares, right? The crowd, the audience, even if you write something that should be popular, you never know how they're going to react. They might change their mind that night, right? The weather can have a big impact on how an audience receives your music, right? If you put on a concert and it just happened to be a rainy night and everybody was stressed on the highway getting to your venue, that's going to affect how they hear your music, right? I'm much happier not worrying about whether or not the new music can be popular, whether my new music can be popular. I just kind of, do my absolute best, and I try to look back on the pieces I'm writing and make sure that each one is getting a little bit better and better to me personally, and I like each one a little bit better and better, and that's good enough for me. I don't care about whether or not it's going to be popular. My academic training really informs my artistic practice a lot, because I'm really, really music theory oriented, like a lot. So I often write music to solve a theoretical problem. So for example, I talked about my string nonet previously. That was to solve a development problem. I talked about phantasmagoria earlier. That was to solve an orchestration problem. I was trying to see if I could orchestrate a brass ensemble so that it wouldn't interfere with a human voice. It wouldn't cover a voice. Right now I'm composing chordal music to solve a theoretical problem. I'm trying to see if I can override functional harmony with functional rhythms and functional time signatures. So I really, really think of music theoretically, and then I ask myself a theoretical question that at least I can't find another composer who's solved the problem yet, and then I will write the piece to investigate or try and solve that problem. So I'm very, very academically oriented. The best piece of advice I ever got was to write music for myself. I already talked about this, not to write music to try to please audiences, or try to please your teacher, or try to please anyone. Just write the music you want to hear. And this is really important because it's tough financially to be a composer. It's a lot of work. It's a brutal lifestyle. And I can't imagine also composing music for someone else and then not being proud of it, and then having to also live this brutal lifestyle that is being a composer. I mean, I live a tough life because I want to be a composer, so it's a lot of work for almost no financial gain. But at least I'm writing music that I like. It's music I want to hear. If I take that away, if I'm also struggling to survive as a composer and I don't even like the music I'm writing, well, I don't know what I have left, right? So that's probably the most important advice I've ever gotten is no matter how tough things get, at least I can be proud of the art I'm creating. I assume we're talking about giving advice to other young Canadian composers. My advice is just to not quit. Even if you only have 10 minutes a day after your full-time non-musical job that makes you miserable, even if you only have 10 minutes a day to designate to continue composing, that's better than nothing. You have, no matter, we all have to work different jobs to make ends meet. Sometimes they're music related, sometimes they're not. We all know when we graduate from music school, we have a dip in performance because we lose all our resources. Some of us, our families are happy we went into music. Some of us, our families are not happy. It doesn't matter. Just keep composing. If no one's playing your work, put on performances yourself. Be as independent as possible and keep composing, okay? Even if you aspire to write a symphony one day and you're not sure it's ever going to be performed, write a solo piece and get a friend to perform it. Just don't stop. Stopping is bad. Stopping, you will regret. So even, like I said, if it's even just 5 minutes a day you designate to your musical practice, then just do it. And that's good enough. It's good enough. So, who am I? I'm a professional musician living in Toronto. I guess most professionally, technically I'm a gospel pianist, although I don't describe myself as that, because my longest job and how I make money is playing gospel music in churches. I was a professional harmony teacher for a long time in a private school. Unfortunately, I lost that job during the pandemic. So now I do a lot of private teaching. It's 2023, so perhaps I'll start working in an actual institution again eventually, but the pandemic kind of derailed my teaching career. And I'm a concert curator, so I run a concert series called Classical Context, and it's supposed to present very difficult intellectual music and classical music to general audiences, and there's a lot of public speaking involved. So I will come out on stage and describe what's actually happening in the pieces to people so that they're able to follow. And I'm the president of the Canadian Composers Orchestra, which is a historic new music organization here in Toronto. It was dormant for a little while, for the past 10 or 15 years, and I'm restarting it up with some friends. So it's a slow growth process, but it will be really good. It was founded in 1983, I believe, by Samuel Dolin, and it was passed to Gary Kulesha, who passed it to Abigail Richardson Schulte, and then over the pandemic, she asked me if I could reinvent it. So that's what I'm working on now. And I compose.